In this video, I'm going to show you how to entirely delegate your OFM agency, VAs, chatters, chat managers, content managers, and operations. So you can finally stop being the bottleneck for your own business and actually own a business rather than a job. After scaling my own agency and working with clients who have done the same, I have realized that delegation is inevitable past 10K per month. But most guys, they fuck it up. They hire the wrong people at the wrong time, they don't train them properly, and they end up doing more work, not less. And that's exactly why I'm making this video today, to show you the entire delegation blueprint. Who to hire first, how to hire them, how to train them, when to scale from VAs to managers so your agency actually runs without you. We're going to be getting into all of that. Let's get right into it. And before we do, if you want access to my completely free course plus community where I break down strategies live like this every single week, click the link in the description. On these calls, we'll cover anything and everything. There's live Q&As. I'll screen share your models accounts. There is so much game past just the normal YouTube surface in that group. But if you want even more advanced help in working one-to-one personally with me, shoot me a DM on Instagram. We'll chop it up and we can talk more about that on IG. But with that being said, let's get right into it. All right, before we get into the hiring blueprint, let me make one thing very clear, and that is that delegation is inevitable. If you want to scale past 10K per month, you have to hire people. You can't do everything yourself. You can't post content, chat with subs, edit videos, manage VAs, handle creator relationships, do the marketing strategy, make decisions, track analytics. It's too much. You'll burn out, you'll cap at 10, 15K max, and you will hate your life. The goal of delegation is to do the opposite, to build an agency that runs without you, not a job where you're working 12 hours a day doing everything. A real business is where you have teams, systems, and managers who handle all of the day-to-day operations while you focus on growing the company. But here's the problem. Most guys, they fuck it up. They hire the wrong people at the wrong times. They hire too early. They don't train properly. They don't know how to manage these people. Or they hire VAs and chatters, but never handle managers. So they're still the bottleneck. And today I'm going to be showing you how to do it the right way. The way that I've learned from scaling from all the way to 10, more or less 0 to $250,000 per month. There are levels to delegation. And let's break this down step by step. So as you can see, this is the 100K a month OFM agency full team framework. Now, before we get into this, I want to make it very clear that there are levels to hiring. There are phases to hiring. There's a way to do delegation. There's a way not to do delegation. I'm sure you already know this, maybe even the reason you clicked on this video. Now, there's one key aspect in hiring in general. Whether you're in this industry or another industry, whatever, I'm assuming you're going to be in OFM, obviously, since you're watching this video. But one thing I want you to keep in mind throughout the entirety of this video that'll make everything work in cohesion is the law of diminishing marginal returns. Now, what is this? I'm going to give you a very simple analogy so that you can understand it easily. So let's say you have one employee with your agency, okay? And with your one employee, yourself, you can post, let's say, a total of 7 posts per day, okay? Now, there's 2 key points, 2 different data points that we want to track with this. Total products and marginal products. Total products is just what you are producing. Marginal products are what you are getting in addition from hiring. This is where you're going to learn diminishing return or diminishing marginals. Excuse me. Now, when it comes to hiring another person, let's say now I have 2 people in my agency. Let's say I post 7 reels and my marginal product would be 7. 7 total, 7 marginal. With the 2 people, let's say with a VA, now I can post 15 reels. So my marginal product would be 8, okay? It is the difference you get from the original. So the original total product. The original total product was 7. Now it went up to 15. So my marginal is 8. Makes sense? Now, you can do this more and more and more. And a lot of people is like, why don't you just hire indefinitely then? Well, let me give you another analogy to explain why hiring can actually make an agency less efficient. You can over-hire just like you can under-hire. There's a sweet spot. There's different stages in economics of this. If you study business, there's 1, 2, and 3 stages. The second stage is where most businesses sit. Now, is it the best stage? Not always, but if you're really growing a huge company, you're most likely going to be in this stage. And this is where you are losing out a little bit on total product, but you are overall gaining on marginal products. So what I mean by that is if you had, let's say, a restaurant business, and you had 1 chef, would hiring 100 chefs make everything more efficient or less efficient? less efficient, obviously, right? Because there's not a job for everyone to go around. That is what I want you guys to understand is there is a balance to this. You can overhire and you can underhire. So make sure that your marginal product, your output in business is harder to calculate because we have posts, subs, money, everything like that in this industry, but make sure that your marginal output after hiring is in the positives or is only minusing or diminishing by usually 5 to 10% is the sweet spot that you want to be in. That is where you have everyone you need getting handled. You are creating semi close to your maximum of total products being able to be made, but you're also not losing out on so many marginal products, either by operating expenses, by hiring these people. It's a rabbit hole that you really can get deep into. And I've, found love inside of knowing how to actually fucking delegate and hire. But for you guys, look it up on your own time. It's something very interesting that I look at for businesses in general, but let's get into OFM. So phase one, levels of hiring. As I said, very simply, there's levels of hiring. If I could break it down, I would break it into 1, 2, and 3 levels. That's going to be 0 to 5K, 5 to 20K, and 25 to 40K. So let's get into it. Level 1, 0 to 5K. This is you. You're on the grind. You're stepping up the stones. You're the solo agency owner with nobody. You have 0 people on your team, and you are just hustling to make it work. Now, when you're just starting, you should be doing everything yourself. Why is this? Because you need to learn how business works. At the end of the day, that is something that you want to learn how to do. A person who wants somebody to handle, let's say, cooking their meals for them, but they don't like this, that, and the third, and they just hire a random person, it's going to be disappointed in the product that gets produced from that. So that's why you need to know how this business works. If you hire a chatter on day one, you won't know if that chatter is doing a good job or not. You won't know if you're underpaying them, overpaying them, if the analytics you're looking at are even good. If you hire a VA to post content on day one, you won't know what good content looks like. You won't know whether or not this is, is she doing an ample job? Is she lacking? Is she doing more than enough, less than enough? You need to do the job before you actually distribute that job to somebody else. Now, what you should be doing yourself is everything. Every day-to-day operation inside of your agency from 0 to 5K per month is you. Now, if you have a free business partner, your buddy from college or this, that, or the third, that is fine. You can work with somebody for completely free or 50-50, whatever it is. But if you are hiring and you are having to pay somebody out of pocket, not a smart idea between 0 and 5K per month. And yes, it is a lot of work, but this is how you learn the business. Do this until you have 5K per month consistently, then move to level 2. All right, in level 2 is going to be 5 to 20K per month. Now, level 2 is you right here. You have a small team, not much, maybe 1 or 2 different VAs, very small team. Maybe you have a chatter or 2. You do not want to have a lot of hires between this point. Now, once you hit 4 or 5K per month, it is time to hire your first person. Who you're going to hire, either or. You can either hire chatters or VAs. You can do both if you're past, 15, 10K per month. But if you're just now getting into level 2, you're at 5K per month, I would hire one of each or one of one. Now, why not both? Because I want you to chat yourself for at least 2 weeks to learn how chatting works, like I was saying. And if you have, then hire a chatter. But if you haven't chatted for 2 weeks, hire a VA to chat in the meantime. But if you have, like I said, put a chatter on there. If you haven't, chat yourself. You just want to learn the aspect and learn the business first before putting somebody in that position. You need to understand how to use inflow, what messages get responses, how PPVs sell, how to correctly sell scripts, and how to build relationships with subs so you can then put that into an SOP, record that in a Loom video, explain that very deeply in any SOP that you send that VA or that chatter. So that way, it's a lot smoother later down the line. You're not having to play catch up trying to train these people. If you hire a chatter before knowing how chatting works, you won't be able to train them. You won't be able to write SOPs. You won't be able to give feedback. So chat yourself first. Then hire a VA to handle posting content, editing videos, scheduling posts, and managing Telegram. These tasks, they don't require your brain. They're repetitive, they're time consuming, but they are essential. Delegate them to a VA. Now, little hack for you guys. If you are in level 1 and you are chatting yourself, what I want you guys to make sure is you can set up an automation. This is what I used to do. I set up an automation. It's very simple. Go Google it or something. You can set up an automation where you get a notification on Telegram every single time that a model gets a chat on OnlyFans. So basically, you can get alerted. You can get response rates. You can get basically just use your phone instead of having to constantly be on your laptop, constantly stress about whether or not people are chatting. You can get notifications every time somebody sends in a chat. Then move on to level 3, which is 20 to 40K per month. This is you, the CEO. Once you're at 20K per month, you have a big team. You have a full team of chatters, or you should at least, or a chatting agency, and you should have a few VAs. Now, this is where, to be honest, most guys fuck it up. They hit 20K per month, they hire 2 to 3 VAs, they have chatters, everything is running, but they are still the ones managing the employees. All right. And what does managing mean? You're a manager, you're not a business owner. They're still reviewing VA work, they're still checking chatters, they're handling creator issues, they're working 8 to 10 hours a day, just managing people. This is the bottleneck. Okay. If you want to scale past 40K per month, you need to hire managers. Who I want you to hire at this level is a chat manager, a content manager, a operations manager, which is optional at first. But once you get to around 200K, 100K, 150K per month, it is highly recommended. Now, let me break down the whole manager thing. So, first manager, which is most likely going to be, I honestly think is the most beneficial manager that you can get inside this whole thing, is a chat manager. What these guys are going to do is they're going to oversee all the chatters. They're going to review the shifts. They're going to track the ratios. They're going to train the chatters. They're going to make sure that chatters are showing up to their shift on time. They're going to make sure that the chatters are actually communicating to each other. They're in place to make sure that your money that you're paying these chatters are actually being performed. The job is being done. It's getting handled. Now, why you need this? So you're not managing the chatters yourself. Very simple, save you hours of time. 2, the chat manager will handle all day-to-day operations as far as the chats, the Discord, everything like that. And 3, they will send you weekly reports. So you can ask them to calculate all the EOS reports up and send you overall the weekly reports. And what you're going to pay these guys is $800 to $2,000, depending on experience, and also workload is a big thing. So I'll just go ahead and say a manager can be multiple different managers. My chat manager is also my account manager, but I don't have an account manager. It's just doing the same job. So I pay them a little bit extra money. It's very simple. Now, as far as content managers work, what these guys are going to do is they're going to oversee all the VAs. They're going to manage the content calendar. They're going to manage the strategy. They're going to coordinate with the creator for filming. They're going to eliminate you from sending constant requests to the models. Hey, can you film this? Hey, does this look good? This, that, and the third. And they're going to report to you weekly. You guys can strategize. You guys can talk about what's working, what's not working. Should we continue posting this? Should we quit it? This is the person that you communicate on content. Why you need this? So you're not managing the content people yourself. The content manager handles all content operations. You just review weekly reports and make decisions with them. You're going to pay these guys around $800 to $1,500 per month. Then you have your account manager. Think of these people as, like I said here, professional OF Vault managers. Very simple. What these guys are going to do is they're going to alert your model with custom requests. You can do this in a group chat. What I do is I set them all up in a WhatsApp group chat so that I'm inside it. Am I asking? Am I requesting content? No, I'm just inside it to see how the account manager is basically communicating with my model. And then they are going to be requesting, receiving, and uploading all of that content to the OF Vault. Like I said, think of them for simple matters, a professional OF Vault organizer and provider. Why you need this? So you're not asking your model for content 24/7. It can get repetitive. It's annoying. It's not something you constantly want to have to be doing. The account manager will be in contact with the chat manager for custom alerts. So if you have an account manager and a chat manager, they're going to communicate a lot with each other because the chat manager is going to know what's going on in the chats 90% of the time. 3, you check in with the account/chat manager to make sure the OF is running smoothly once a week, once every 3 days. Very simple. The pay is going to be a lot less. I'd say if they're only doing account management, it's probably going to be $500 a month, maybe $1,000 a month. It's a cheap hire. Then you have the ops director. So these guys is where you're really hitting home with the money. You're making at least 75K profit, I would say, to be able to comfortably you can comfortably afford this hire at 50K, but to be able to have this make sense. Because at the end of the day, you don't want to hire an ops director, because what you're doing when you hire an ops director is you're saying, all my systems are working. What I do is repetitive. It is proven. And I can do this with tons of different creators. Because you're not hiring this person to take over your agency. You're hiring this person to execute on these systems and the processes you already have in place inside of your agency to execute without you. That's the whole reason you're hiring this person. So they're going to oversee the entire agency. They're going to manage the chat and the content manager. They're going to help with creator relations. They're going to onboard new creators. They're going to track overall agency performance, income, outcome, expenses, and report to you weekly. So this is where you're not managing the managers anymore. This is where the op director handles basically all day-to-day operations, and you can focus on growth, acquisition systems, building assets, adding promo pages, strategic decisions, things like that. When to hire, like I said, not necessary from 50 to 100K. You really want to make sure your agency is locked down and loaded if you hire this person. I mean, for you guys' reference, I've hired this person in the last 4 months. I've hired an ops director, fucking amazing, saves me hours of my time, makes my life so much more peaceful. But I will say we've been dealing with some issues just as far as, what I've been saying, not really applying to every single creator. We've been trying to scale recently in my agency. We now have over 11 different clients that we're working with. And so once I hired this ops, like that was the whole reason I hired this ops manager, because I knew I wanted to start scaling horizontally sooner or later to prove that my systems can work with literally any creator, which we've been very successful. And I'd say 85% of the creators, but there is 3 creators that we're having trouble growing. And now with the ops director, there's a little bit more communication as far as what to do from there. But overall, very efficient. Now, here's how to actually hire these people. Obviously, we can learn all day about what they do and who they are, but the next part of that is how to hire them. So phase 2, how to hire. This is the full A through Z process. Now, step 1, I want you to post a job listing, okay? There's going to be 3 different sources that you can post this job listing in. It's very simple. Don't overthink it. Source 1 is going to be Telegram. Now, I know a lot of guys, I don't know where this stigma came from, but a lot of guys are like, oh, everybody says Telegram, but nobody actually hires off Telegram. I don't hire off Telegram anymore. 90% of all of my resources come from referrals. But when I started and when I was at 10, 20, 30K per month, it was Telegram. I never went on another. I recently, in the last 6 months, 8 months, went on OFMjobs.com. But besides that, it was all Telegram. So what I'll do is I'll set up folders basically with all of the different hiring channels that you can have. And then I'll just send in messages that look like this. Looking for English speaking chatters. This is the pay. This is the requirements. If you want to apply, DM at me, right? And then once they DM you, the funnel after this is you want to just ask them, did you see the requirements, blah, blah, blah. And then once they confirm and they say, yes, I did, then I will send them a Google form. Very simple. I just want them to fill this form out, and that is going to be a part of the screening process in phase 2, which we're about to get into. Very simple though. You want to send them a Google form. You don't want to contact them. You don't want to get on a call. Just send them a Google form, and we'll get into how that funnels here in a second. Source 2 is ofmjobs.com. So on this, if you guys don't know what this is, it's a website. It's like Donut Jobs or onlinejobs.ph or Upwork, but specifically for OFM. So you guys can hire chatters on this, VAs, anybody and anyone in OFM, you can hire off this website. And they'll list, you can see their skills. Now, don't trust these guys 1,000%. Like, is this guy, Kelvin, actually an Instagram growth, marketing, engagement, and strategy specialist? Probably not. But yeah, no experience. But you can see there is people wanting work. So like that's something that you want to look for. So all you have to do is sign up on ofmjobs.com. When prompted, click employer, not worker. Once logged in, click post a job, click create manually, OF chatter or VA, whatever you want to title that. Full time, enter the description of the job, enter the on target earnings, required experience, etc. And then gender indie, and then any. And then one thing I like about ofmjobs.com is that you can then, there's more settings under it. You can make it required that they know how to use Inflow. You can make it required that they're comfortable with OF. You can make it required that they have sales experience, chatting experience. You can make a lot of the requirements fit exactly what your job posting wants. So that way you only get people that when they apply, they actually will fit the requirements and not just be a waste of time. Then source 3 is referrals. So this is where 90% of my chatters, account managers, content managers, etc. come from, my network. And people I've met in the industry over the last few years. Now, my biggest recommendations for this, obviously, I can't just give you my entire network. That would be redundant. But what I can say is keep your connections, look for high value people, and know how to spot bullshit. This industry has so much in it. If you can genuinely be a legit person in this industry, do good business, you will fall into the hands of people who know people, and that will amplify your earnings. Now, step 2 of this, screening process, okay? The vetting phase. What I want you to do is every single one of those places, sources that you get chatters from, whether it's Telegram, OFMjobs.com, or referrals, I want you to send them, like I was saying, to a Google form. Okay. On this Google form, all applicants will be gone through a vetting process, asking questions about past experience, comfortability, internet speed, why they want the job, what they're going to do, etc., etc., etc. Okay. And then you can use smart logic attached inside of the Google form to weed out the bad applicants. So an example of this would be, are you comfortable with not safe for work 18 plus content, question mark, yes or no. If they answer yes, they're funneled into an acceptance. If they're answered no, then they've been denied. Obviously, it's not that simple. It's not that one word, but asking, questions that actually do matter is really important, because then it can weed out all the people you don't want to waste your time with. And then all the people that get accepted through this go through a call assessment. And that call assessment is going to look something like this. One, you're going to look for typing speed. You're going to look for internet speed. You're going to look for the speaking level and availability, and do a live chatting test if you are hiring a chatter. A lot of guys ask questions about this. Simple. Go to the chat, whether in Google Meet, Zoom, really doesn't matter, and just say, hey, you're going to role play as the fan or as the model. I'm going to role play as the fan, and let's just see how you handle a few of these chats. You can see really if somebody has experience. Then if they genuinely pass the test, call 2 is onboarding them. Book them into CRM, schedule the shifts, Discord Hub, all that good stuff. Now, past the screening phase is step number 3, which is hiring them. In their first 1 to 3 days, I like to do what's called a testing or trial phase, okay? Now, always give a trial phase before hiring. Here's why. You can interview somebody and they might sound fucking amazing, but at the end of the day, they could be so incompetent that they can't even post a video or do a reel or anything like that. And the last thing you want to do is get locked down into just handing somebody the reins and letting them take control. So, for example, if you hire a chatter, I do chatter monitoring. So, we will review your first 2 shifts. I want you to proceed like normal chatting and with subscribers, and then have your chat manager or yourself review that in the call. So you can see if this guy was, the first time, he would be on mute. He'd be live screening his screen. This would either be you or your chat manager, and then you guys would just review their chats. All right. For a content manager, here's a competitor's Instagram, study it and give me what's posting. And you can just see if these guys actually have what it takes. What content is working, have them fill out a form or have them just schedule a meeting with you and talk about what's working, what's not, etc. If they complete the test well, hire them. If they do a shitty job, move on. Simple as that, boys. Remember, hire slow, fire fast, okay? Always stick to that. Now, once you've actually trained them in, they've passed the screening process, they're went through with flying colors on the trial phase. Now it's time to actually train them, okay? This is where these people are going to get better, training phase. Now, you want 99% of your hiring and training process to be fully automated by SOPs. Now, when I say fully automated, am I talking about a huge fancy Zapier or NAN automation? No, but there's going to be 2 types of hiring in your SOPs. Hiring SOPs and training SOPs. All of your hiring SOPs are what's going to be performed by you or HR, human resources at your agency, following process like the generating the lead pool, or sending messages in telegrams, or logic, using smart logic to weed out the bad applicants, or training them during the trial phase, things like that. And then once they've passed all of that, then they get their training SOPs, and which are made by you, Loom recordings, things like that, but performed by the new hire, okay? So let me explain what this is going to look like. So a hiring SOP, which I recommend you guys have. You have Telegram, Google Form, and have this for every single position. Telegram, Google Form, Smart Logic, accepted, denied, contacted via WhatsApp, screening called, passed or failed, given trial period test/test assessment. If they passed, checked into Discord Hub, logged into info, and then provided with their training SOPs. Now with the training SOPs, you can see how it all links together. Loom recording, okay? So whether they get booked into Discord or they are just simply sent these Loom video recordings by you, very, very easy. You boys will film these once and use forever, okay? Open Loom, hit record, walk through the task on your screen while you explain it. So for instance, if you were posting a Instagram or you're sending it to a content VA, hey, I want you to go here, go to this, download this, go into the Edits app, add this type of caption, add this font, make it this small, use this ChatGPT project to come up with the prompt. Make it very, very straightforward. And that's it. You have a 9-minute, 10-minute Loom video recording, send it to your VA and say, watch this and do exactly what I do. No back and forth, no hand holding. They just follow the video and everything works out. It's very, very simple. Now, last step of this is step 6, trust but verify. This is just something to live by when hiring, okay? Once they start working, follow this rule, trust but verify. Trust means assume that they're doing the work correctly. After you've hired them, assume that the work is going to be done correctly, but verify that, okay? Don't blindly assume. Check their work for the first 1 to 2 weeks. What to check? Are they posting on time? Are they doing a good job? Are they actually chatting? Do they seem like they know what they're doing? If they're doing well, awesome. Check their work less or weekly instead of daily. If they're fucking up though, give them specific feedback on what to fix, show them what to do wrong or what they're doing wrong, and then have them redo it. And if they still fuck up after 2 or 3 chances, replace them. Don't waste your time with bad hires. Now, moving from this is going to be mistakes. You guys can know pretty much everything on how to hire, but if you don't know the mistakes of what people make when hiring, you will most likely make them. So let me explain a few mistakes. All right, let's talk about mistakes. Most guys, they'll get to 15K, 20K, they have VAs, they have chatters, everything is running, but they're still working 8 to 10 hours a day. And why? It's because they're reviewing the VAs, they're managing the chatters. It's because they're still managing people. They're managing, they're not a business owner, okay? If you are managing clients, employees, anybody, that is a task that you have to do. And if that task is not amplifying the agency, you shouldn't be doing it. So if you are past 20K per month and you do not have managers in place to ensure that your work is optimal and your time is being used to the best of its ability, remember, boys, there's a difference between $10,000 task and dead work, bot work, task work, whatever you want to call it. There's a big difference, and you should not be the one managing your clients. So how to fix this? Hire managers to look over all of these VAs. Chat manager should be your first hire, and then move on to either account manager, content manager, and then last but not least, the ops director. Now, another mistake that I see guys make, and it's not really a mistake, it's a mistake in their mindset, it's a belief flip that they have to make, is that your work being done by a VA or by a chatter or by anyone else will not be done at 100% perfection. If you're one of a guy like me, I had this problem when I was starting to hire, was that I didn't think that any of my work for my agency could be done at the perfection that I was doing it at. So let's just put perfection on a scale. Let's say I was doing it at 100% perfection, okay? I did not want to hire a VA because I didn't even want him to do it at 80%, 70%, etc. But here's the thing that you guys need to realize if you have that mindset like I did. You are saying by believing that your time is not valuable enough to be taken away from task work, or that your time is the same value packed as a VA. At the end of the day, what I'm getting across here is if that VA does, let's say, that task at 80%, 75%, right? But it allows you to get 6 hours a week, 10 hours a week, 20 hours a week of your time back. Which one is more valuable, okay? And if you're going to say that 20 hours a week is not as valuable as getting something at 100% perfection rather than 80, you need to work on either your business or your strategic decision making. You need to know how to become a real business owner, okay? It's not the fact that we're trying to do everything perfect here. We're trying to amplify. We're trying to grow. Grow messy, grow slow, grow fast, whatever. Just fucking grow. Because at the end of the day, there's no such thing as stagnation in business. If you are dead, what they call the dead waters in business, where you're not moving, you're not going up, you're not going down, there's a reason why they call it the dead waters. If you're not going up in business, you're always going down, even if you don't see it at first. All right, one more thing before we wrap up is something that a lot of guys miss out on, and that's before you hire people, automate what you can. I call this bot work. Bot work is anything that can be done by a bot. If a task can be automated, automate it. Don't hire a VA to do it. So for example, if you can automate something like the Telegram notification, for instance, where you get notifications on your phone every single time somebody chats, instead of having a VA or somebody when you're chatting in the beginning because, oh, I don't have a laptop, whatever, set up an automation. Or content distribution, set up an automation. Set up automation that you get a notification when somebody posts content, or set up an automation scheduling. Example, it's not really a fancy automation, but at the end of the day, it's an automation. And why automate first? It's pretty obvious. It's cheaper. It's faster than hiring anybody. And so, for example, if you're posting content manually every single day, you could hire a VA to do it for $4, or you could set up a scheduling app and a VA paying them cheaper to do it for automated for 7 days out, 12 days out, doesn't matter. Automate first, then hire for tasks that cannot be automated. Bottom line is just automate what you can and hire the rest, okay? Now, last of this is I want to give you the full framework for delegation, all right? So here it is. When you're making 0 to 5K per month, do everything yourself. Learn the business, chat yourself, post content yourself, edit the videos yourself. Do this until you hit 5K per month. And then 5 to 10K per month, delegate. Delegate posting content, editing videos, chatting, and anything that isn't overly repetitive. If it's overly repetitive, delegate it. If it isn't, still work on it. Then months 10K to 20K, that's when you really are delegating. Once you've learned chatting, you're hiring your full chatting team. You maybe have 1 to 2 VAs, delegate all chatting operations and put either a chat manager or manage the chatters yourself. When you're hitting 20 to 30K, that's when managers are inevitable. At least hire a chat manager, maybe hire a content manager, and stop managing all these VAs and chatters yourself. Let the managers handle the day-to-day operations and you focus on the growth of the agency. And then months 50K to 100K, hire an ops manager. Get your time back, focus on assets, focus on long-term stability, focus on really only working 3 to 4 hours per day and making that some of the most efficient work hours you've ever had. I know it is for me. This is where you're reviewing reports, you're building assets, you're working on new strategic decisions for the future. Your agency at this point runs without you. Now, you've seen the full delegation roadmap: when to hire, where to hire, how to train, what goes wrong, and why most guys fuck it up by not hiring managers. And you can either keep doing everything yourself and stay stuck at 5 to 10K per month, or you can build a real agency that runs without you. If you want access to my completely free Course Plus community where I break down strategies like this literally every single week, every single Friday, provide templates, host live calls, click the link in the description. If you're wanting to take your agency even more seriously and get advanced one-to-one help where I work with you personally, helping implementing these systems and also tons of others into your agency, just shoot me a quick DM on Instagram. We'll chop it up and I'll see if I can help you. But I will warn you, it is not for everybody. I only want to work with absolute fucking killers. And with that being said, I'll see y'all boys in the next video. Peace out.